The soda can hit the pavement with a dull thud and splash sticky liquid across the tomb guard's polished boots, and in that instant the crowded ground of Arlington froze as gas cut sharply through the heavy summer heat. Tyler Grayson, just 13 years old and dressed in expensive sneakers, grinned as he held his phone, already recording in hopes of capturing the perfect viral clip. He expected laughs, maybe a flinch from the stone-faced soldier. But Ethan Caldwell, the tomb guard, did not move. His eyes hidden behind sunglasses burned with a fury no one saw coming. And in that moment, a single careless act of disrespect was about to ignite a firestorm that would change a boy, a family, and a nation's understanding of honor. What Tyler could not know, what no one in that crowd could have guessed, was that the man he mocked carried away to a fallen brother, and the tomb he guarded held secrets that would soon unravel everything it was. Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery, the sun blazing down over a sea of visitors gathered around the tomb of the unknown, soldier, the air heavy with heat and reverence, the kind of solemn quiet that settles over a crowd when something sacred is about to happen. Families, veterans, and tourists stood shoulder to shoulder, their eyes locked on a lone sentinel who paced with mechanical precision. His navy blue uniform was pressed to perfection, his kepi hat sat low, and his sunglasses revealed nothing of his thoughts. Every step, every turn, every click at his heels rang with purpose. This was Ethan Caldwell, 28 years old, a tomb guard of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, a man who carried honor like armor among the crowds. To the Grayson family. From California, Jonathan Grayson, a Texio, wore a tailored suit and kept his eyes glued to his phone, firing off emails. Without pause, his wife Lauren scanned a cemetery map through the dark tint of her designer sunglasses, and between them stood their son Tyler, his blonde hair slicked into place, his outfit radiating money with limited edition sneakers, a custom t-shirt, and a brand new phone dangling from his hand. Tyler was not there for the ceremony. He was there because his parents thought a trip to Washington would look good on social media. But to him, this was just another boring stop on a vacation. He never wanted this. Is so lame, he muttered loudly enough for nearby tourists to hear. Why are we standing here watching? Some guy walked back and forth. It's like 100 degrees out. Here Lauren sighed without looking up. Tyler, honey, just try to enjoy it. This is important. Tyler scoffed, scrolling through his phone. It's just some old tomb. I bet this guy is just a wannabe soldier playing dress-up. Jonathan never looked up from his screen. Let him complain, Lauren. He'll get over. The crowd hushed as Ethan completed his 21 steps, turned, and faced the tomb. His movements flawless, a living tribute to the unknown. Soldiers who had given everything. Ethan had earned this post through years of grueling training, driven by the memory of his older brother Michael, who never came home from Afghanistan. Every step Ethan took was for Michael, for fallen, and for the country. But Tyler could not see that all he saw was a chance to go viral. I am going to get a sick video of this guy, he said, raising his phone. Bet I can make him flinch. He started recording and narrating loudly. Yo, check out this robot soldier. Bet he is sweating buckets. Under that hat, a few tourists shot him. Dirty looks, but he did not care. He was used to attention, used to his parents smoothing over any trouble. He calls back home, teachers let him slide, and his friends worship his family's wealth. To Tyler, the world was his playground, and rules were made for other people, not him. As Ethan turned for another pass, Tyler's boredom shifted to mischief. He spotted a half-empty soda can in his hand, left over from lunch, and a grin spread across his face. Yo, this is going to be epic, he whispered to himself. He stepped closer to the rope barrier, ignoring the signs that warned visitors to stay back. The crowd murmured, sensing trouble, but Jonathan and Lauren were too distracted to notice. With a quick flick of his wrist, Tyler tossed the soda and it hit the ground near Ethan's feet, splashing sticky liquid onto his polished boots. The crowd gasped a sharp collective intake of breath that shattered the solemn quiet. Ethan did not flinch. His face stayed hard, his step steady, but his jaw tightened just enough to betray the insult. Years of combat and discipline held him steady. He had faced worse than a spoiled kid. He had endured enemy fire, roadside bombs, and the loss of his brother. But this was a different kind of wound. Tyler laughed louder, now encouraged by the reaction. Yo, he did not even blink. This guy is a total statue. He raised his phone again, zooming in on Ethan's boots. Check out the mess I made. This is going viral. An elderly man in the crowd, wearing a Vietnam veteran cap, leaned toward his wife and muttered, that kid has no respect. Someone needs to teach him a lesson. Tyler, oblivious, pressed on. He stepped right up to the rope and leaned over. Hey, soldier boy, you gonna clean that up? Or what? Bet you could not even talk. He turned the crowd, expecting laughs, but found only glares. A mother pulled her children closer, shielding them from the scene, and a group of teenagers whispered while shaking their heads. Jonathan finally looked up from his phone. Tyler, what are you doing? Get back "Here, relax, Dad," Tyler said, waving him off. "I am just having fun. These guys are paid to stand there, right? They work for us." The words hung in the air heavy, and wrong Ethan's eyes hidden behind his sunglasses locked on Tyler for a brief second. He had heard worse insults in war zones, but this boy's arrogance cut deep. The tomb of the unknown soldier was not just stone, it was a shrine, a sacrifice to men and women who had given their lives without ever knowing fame or fortune. Here was this kid treating the tomb like nothing more than a backdrop for TikTok, and Tyler, undeterred, pulled out his phone again, declaring it was time for the money shot. As he stepped over the rope barrier, the crowd erupted in murmurs, and a ripple of phones rose to record. Tyler strutted toward Ethan, holding his phone high. "For a selfie, Omi. And the statue guy, this is going to get 1,000,000 likes," he announced. That was a line Ethan's training told him to stay still, to ignore the provocation, but something inside him snapped, because this was not about him anymore. It was about Michael and about every soldier who never came home. In one fluid motion, faster than anyone expected, Ethan stepped forward, snatched the phone from Tyler's hand, and let it drop to the pavement, where the crack of the screen rang out like a gunshot. The crowd froze. Tyler's jaw fell open in shock as he yelled that his $2,000 phone was broken and demanded Ethan pay for it. Ethan returned to his post, his face unreadable, but the air was charged with whispers, some quietly cheering, others stunned. Security guards, led by Inspector Laura Bennett, a firm-voiced officer with 15 years at Arlington, pushed through the crowd and spoke into her radio, reporting that a kid had crossed a line, and the Sentinel had responded. Jonathan stormed forward, red-faced, declaring the act outrageous and threatening to call his lawyer, while insisting everyone knew who he was. Laura calmly explained that Tyler had thrown a soda can at a tomb guard and crossed a restricted barrier, which was assault and trespassing on federal property, and told Jonathan he was lucky the Sentinel had not done more. Lauren shrieked that he was just a kid, but Laura said age did not excuse disrespecting the tomb. This was a sacred place, and Tyler had defiled it. Tyler, still staring at his shattered phone, began to notice the faces around him filled with anger, disgust, and disappointment. Veterans stood nearby with arms crossed and eyes hard-won. Woman in her 60s with Marine Corps pin shook her head and told him she had buried friends here and that he should be ashamed. Already the hashtag Arlington Kid was trending, and clips of his stun and Ethan's response were spreading across every major social media platform. News vans were on the way, and the headline "Teen Disrespects Tomb of the Unknown Soldier" was making the rounds. Laura ordered her team to escort the family to the security office. Jonathan protested, but the guards were firm, leading the Graysons away through a crowd that parted, while some muttered about spoiled rich kids and others took photos. Ethan resumed his march boots, still stained with soda, but his focus steady, though inside he felt the storm of knowing he had broken protocol, and yet not regretting it. In the air-conditioned security office lined with photographs of Arlington's history, the Graysons sat across from Laura and Colonel Margaret Hayes, the commanding officer of Ethan's unit. Margaret, a 50-year-old veteran with silver hair and a gaze like steel, wasted no time telling Jonathan that his son had committed assault on a federal officer and disrespected a national monument, and that the tomb represented every soldier who had given their life. Jonathan leaned forward, trying to negotiate with money, offering to write a check to cover damages if they could keep things quiet. But Margaret's eyes narrowed as she told him this was not about money, but about respect and a lack of it, and that his son needed to learn actions have consequences regardless of wealth. Lauren clutched her husband's arm, insisting Tyler was only 13 and had meant no harm, but Laura replied that a kid who thinks he is above the rules learns it from somewhere, and she could see exactly where Tyler got it. Tyler slumped in his chair, his swagger gone, as the weight of the moment began to sink his phone in pieces. The world watching, and not on his side for the first time. He felt small. Margaret stood and announced she was calling a specialist to assess him, because this was not just about punishment, but making sure he understood what he had done. And until then, the family was not leaving Arlington. An hour later, Dr. Emily Carter, a 38-year-old psychologist who specialized in troubled teens, arrived. She had seen Tyler's kind before, spoiled, entitled, craving attention, but never taught responsibility. She sat across from him in a private room, her tone calm, but direct, as she asked Tyler to tell her why he had done what he did, her pen poised to take down every word. Tyler shrugged, avoided her eyes, and said he was bored, that the guy was just standing there like a robot, and he thought it would be funny, Emily repeated, raising an eyebrow before reminding him that he had thrown a soda can at a soldier guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier, and asking if he knew what that tomb represented. Tyler shrugged again and said some dead soldiers. He guessed Emily leaned forward and told him those dead soldiers had given their lives to this country so that he could have the freedom to stand there and act like a fool and at the guard. Ethan was honoring them while Tyler had disrespected that. Tyler shifted uncomfortably and said it was just a soda can and that it was not like he had hurt him. Emily told him it was not about physical harm but about respect, and that he had treated a sacred place like his personal playground. She asked how he thought the guard felt, and Tyler muttered that he did not know since Ethan had not reacted. Emily explained that was because he was trained to stay professional, even when people like Tyler tried to provoke him, but assured him that Ethan had felt it, and so had every veteran in that crowd. Tyler looked down, his fingers twitching, unable to answer, and for the first time, he began to see the guard as a person rather than just a prop. Outside, the media frenzy was exploding. CNN and Fox News had picked up the story. An Arlington kid was trending worldwide. Commentators argued about parenting privilege and patriotism, and a viral tweet from a veteran read that the kid needed to learn what sacrifice meant and that the tomb was not a joke. Jonathan's phone buzzed with calls from his PR team warning that his company stock was dropping, and Lauren's social media was flooded with hate comments forcing her to go private. Back in the room, Emily made her recommendation, telling Margaret and the Graysons that Tyler needed a wake-up call and proposing a 4-week community service program at Arlington, where he would work with the grounds crew, meet veterans, and learn about the tombs. Significance warning that if he did not cooperate, they would escalate to juvenile authorities. Jonathan blanched and said they could not be serious because Tyler was a kid, not a criminal, but Margaret told him he had committed assault on federal property and that he should be grateful they were offering an alternative to legal charges, explaining that it was about teaching, not punishing. Lauren's eyes filled with tears as she protested. They were supposed to fly to Paris next week, but Laura cut her off and said their vacation was over. And Tyler's education started now. Tyler stayed silent, his mind racing at the thought of community service, cleaning a cemetery. But one look at Emily told him he was not getting out. Over the next 4 weeks, Tyler's world shifted as he woke at dawn, trading his designer clothes for jeans and a work shirt, sweeping pathways, pulling weeds, and polishing headstones under Virginia sun. The first week, he complained constantly, but the grounds crew, who were veterans of wars he had only read about, did not coddle him and cared nothing for his family's money. One afternoon, Emily brought him to meet Clara Thompson, a 90-year-old World War II nurse who attended to the wounded at Normandy. Clara's hands trembled as she spoke, but her voice was strong as she told him she had held boys younger than him as they died, and that they had not known if they would win the war, but had fought anyway, and that was what the tomb was, for those who gave everything. Tyler listened without sarcasm. Clara's stories, unlike the movies he watched or the games he played, were real, raw, and heavy, and for the first time, he felt something close to shame. During the third week, Tyler attended a Memorial Day wreath-laying ceremony and stood in the crowd watching Ethan march. Once more this time, the guard's precision, the silence of the crowd, and the weight of the moment struck him differently. He saw the pride in Ethan's steps and the deep respect in the salutes of the veterans around him, and he realized the tomb was not just a monument, but promised to never forget. On the final day of his program, Emily arranged a meeting between Tyler and Ethan in a quiet office overlooking the cemetery with Colonel Hayes, and Emily present. Ethan wore civilian clothes, but his military bearing was unmistakable, and Tyler's stomach churned as he faced a man he had once disrespected. Ethan, "I am sorry, Tyler," said, his voice steady but soft. "I was a jerk. I did not understand what you do or what this place means. I treated you like a prop, and that was wrong." Ethan studied him, his expression unreadable, and asked why he had done it. Tyler hesitated.